It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Aaron Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome into another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Aaron Saunders once again on his afternoon drive. Alan, how we doing?
Man, these are long days, minicamp. This is I'm getting beat up here. I'm ready for this 3-day sprint to the finish here to get moving. But I got a ton of content, man. I got enough stuff to write for 5 weeks, which is good because that's how long I need to have stuff to write for.
Well, I was just saying, so what is the difference? What's a mini camp day as opposed to an OTA day or a training camp day? What makes this week different?
Everything is spread out more. Like we're at the building for longer. So like OTAs, if you don't want to watch practice, you can show up and do the entirety of your job in 30 minutes and go home. Not that I do that, but like you can.
Right.
On a minicamp day, like we're there early in the morning before walkthrough, talking to coaches, then players after walkthrough. Then like there's this like dead time in the middle of the day. And then we have practice and then we have post-practice. So it's just a long day, longer than even like a practice day, honestly. More like a training camp day. But a training camp, it's fine. You're not doing anything else. So like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I was obviously not for the extended period of time, obviously, the duration of it, but the couple days that I spent out at training camp last year, I was like, man, these are some long days. You feel like the day ends, you go back to the hotel to clean up, go get something to eat, and the night's over, and you're doing it all again the next day. I'm like, geez, you guys are really doing this every single day this entire time? But, man, that's why I bring it up all the time, but had to tip my cap to everybody that's in that line of work after just experiencing a couple days out there. But we'll dive more into that.
We got to get you back out there this year. We got to do that again. That was fun.
Yeah, I'm down, but I will say didn't love seeing all the 155 practices. I know that means that sun's going to be beaming down.
Maybe we'll get you out there for Friday Night Lights this time.
Yeah, okay, that would be fun. That could be fun. But all right, we'll obviously we'll discuss that going forward. But I do want to bring up first thing, we got to knock out these super chats. We appreciate everybody that accompanies their comment or question with some compensation to the YouTube platform as well. And Devin the House has been waiting for these. And he also messaged me on Instagram and he was like, hey, I don't know if you guys have seen those, but can I ask on here as well? And then yesterday I wanted to bring them up and YouTube comments couldn't see any of them. So Devin will knock these out for you right here. Devin said, my number one watched podcast is Steelers Now. I love to see that. Love to hear that. Thank you all for being so dope. With the addition of Rodgers, do you think that the writing is on the wall for Will Howard's future as a backup, considering they'll probably take a quarterback next year? So if Rodgers / Mason play all of this year, does Howard even get a look? If Mason is the backup, going to spend a high draft pick next season, it seems like he may never actually get a real chance.
Well, I don't think the signing of Aaron Rodgers really has anything to do with Will Howard's future. I mean, you take a guy in the 6th round, it's probably going to be a backup unless like some weird stuff happens. That's sort of always going to be the case. I don't think like there was no chance of anything other than him entering the season as at best 3rd on the depth chart. Like if they didn't sign Rodgers, they were going to sign somebody else that was going to go ahead of him. So I don't really think it changed. Like Rodgers changes anything. I mean, I do think if you want to look at it realistically, that's probably the most likely outcome for Will Howard is that he becomes a backup. And I think if he does become a starter, the most likely way that happens is like year 3 or 4, when Aaron Rodgers is going to be deep into his media career or whatever he decides is coming after football. You know, like that. If you're talking about a guy from that position that's going to beat the odds, it's probably not going to happen right away. It's probably going to be, a couple seasons, get his feet wet, get established in the system, Yeah, probably going to have like an RG3 Kirk Cousins situation where someone gets
Yeah.
drafted with the intention of them becoming the starter, and then for whatever reason, either that doesn't work out or he gets an opportunity and then he takes it and runs with it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't like the idea that any time before like 2028, Will Howard is the Steelers starting quarterback has always felt pretty far fetched to me.
Yeah, I agree. Like the way that I've said it to somebody else is if Will Howard becomes a starter, it's due to an unfortunate circumstance for at least one person in front of him, whether that is
Probably more
them
than
playing
one.
poorly or, yeah, whether it's them playing poorly or obviously an injury taking place. In this case, like you said, with it being Aaron as opposed to somebody else, we've talked about how durable Aaron has been, but obviously age not necessarily on his side. And we know that like when you suffer an Achilles injury, typically you could start to see like, maybe a calf thing pops up here or there, some soft tissue stuff pop up here and there. Maybe it actually provides a better chance of an opportunity because it is Aaron and not somebody younger, not somebody else. And Mason, say Aaron goes down with an injury, Mason's not performing well, the team, and I don't expect this to happen, but like the team's not in a position where they're competing anymore. Is that a world where you could see Will Howard get a shot in the regular season? Potentially. I don't know that I'm obviously not banking on that happening or predicting it to happen, but like,
I
yeah,
could see him getting into some games, but like
yeah,
they would still be drafting a quarterback in the first round next year in that
right.
scenario, almost no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the window of opportunity for him. I think he needs like multiple things to happen, and then he's obviously himself going to have to play very well when and if that opportunity arises. So a lot of variables there to Will Howard becoming a starting quarterback. I think it's awesome, like the way that he's kind of spoken. I think he's got the right approach. I think he's learning under some great people to learn from for different reasons, like vastly different reasons. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, a guy that's been there and done that, one of the best to ever do it at the position. And then you got Mason, who's been in like this exact same spot, and I think can just teach him how to be a pro and how to be a guy that's not in that starting quarterback spot. So I think Will Howard's got a great opportunity in front of him. But again, the way that this fan base has talked about him, the expectation is just, in my opinion, not going to become the reality.
Yeah, two more things on this. One is very important, and one is actually meaningful, but very important, but not very important in terms of the context of this podcast. Mike Tomlin yesterday, when talking about Will Howard, he let a hard out. I don't know if it was intentional or if it just slipped, but you go back and listen to Mike Tomlin yesterday. There is a clear and distinct hard that, and he almost like corrected himself. Like the next time he said it like Howard, like he was like,
Over
oh,
enunciated.
that sounded like I'm from McKees Rocks or something. Uh, so
William Howard.
That was important, an important development that Mike Tomlin, at the very least, subconsciously is on board with hard. Uh, the other thing, and listen, I'm putting Will. When you watch Aaron Rodgers throw the ball and the ball come out of his hand, and you watch everybody else on his team, it's like a team sport. It's like watching three people who played cricket and then Paul Skeens. Like the motion looks the same, the results very different.
I was even going to say from like a motion standpoint, like Aaron, in my opinion, has like the best release, like the way that the ball comes out of his hand, just like the flick of the wrist. It looks so good. It looks so smooth. It looks so effortless. And like that part, we haven't seen age. But yeah, just like the little clips here and there. I will say, you kind of already shifted my opinion on Will Howard based off the way Tomlin said his last name. I'm kind of on board now with the way that everybody else is talking about him overhyping. I'm just joking, by the way. I'm not there. What was the other thing here from Devin? Oh, this is interesting because it's kind of like an all-time roster thing. He said if you took, so this is like the other thing that Devin said, kind of like an all-time roster type question, I guess. He said if you took every player that has played for every franchise and could have them in their prime, do you think there's another roster that rivals the Steelers?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, I think it probably depends on how much you like. I hate comparing eras in sports
Yeah.
because the eras are not really comparable. Um,
Hmm.
like all the fastest times in the 100 meters are in the last 10 years, right? Like all of the recent athletes are the biggest, the fastest, the strongest. So like you can't compare like Jack Lambert to Patrick Queen. Like Jack Lambert's a Hall of Famer, Patrick Queen's not. But if you lined them up, like if you magically transported 1977 Jack Lambert to Pittsburgh, he wouldn't be starting over Patrick Queen. Like even though he's a Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
like
Right.
not at 220 pounds or whatever he weighed. Um, so like I think it probably depends on your methodology for deciding this all-time team. I would venture to say, I'll say this. Yeah, if you want to make 22 starters from every NFL team the best ever,
Hmm.
I I don't know that there's one I would take over the Steelers. And I say that specifically because there are a lot of other teams that have had sort of like dominant eras. But when you have a dominant era, you almost never have like a like universally dominant team. Um, and the Steelers having had like multiple dominant eras to me really makes them pretty unique. I guess the Packers
Yeah. I
would
thought about the
probably
Packers for sure.
be the other one that like I
Hmm.
think you could probably fill out a good roster. Um, the Cowboys had two.
Yep. Hmm.
Uh, you know, I think the
What's
Steelers are certainly right there. I would have to do a
Yeah.
lot of research to really fully correctly answer this
Yeah.
question.
What I think is interesting though is like I want to tie in a different conversation we had where it's like, somebody asked us, would you rather have like a couple elite players, but then just have like a roster full of kind of like just guys, or would you rather have a roster full of like really good talent but no elite players? So like the reason that I say that is I was looking up teams with the most Hall of Famers, and for people that don't know, the Chicago Bears actually have the most Hall of Fame
Bears,
players.
yeah, yeah.
But like then I start to think about, okay, but you at least need to have like that dude at the quarterback position. So then like I'm like, okay, who is the second most Hall of Fame players? Because do the Bears have that guy to be able to go against the Packers best of all time or the Steelers best of all
Who's
time?
the best Bears wide receiver? While we're on it,
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
like
Um,
there's big holes there.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. Top five: Bears, Packers, Cowboys, Steelers, Giants, and actually, 32. There's four teams tied with 32. So the Steelers are within that group. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously, right up there with anybody else. And if you're talking about eras too, that's an interesting way to look at it. And certainly, we know Steelers of the 70s.
The big weakness on the Steelers all-time team compared to others comparable
Hmm.
would be uh, tackle. They've they've
Yeah,
they've not
right.
had a lot of success at the tackle position. Um, I mean, Larry Brown obviously was the Super Bowl champion, but I'm not sure he was ever even a Pro Bowler. Tunch Ilkin was a couple-time
It's like
Pro Bowler on
Marvel
some
Smith.
not great Steelers teams. Yeah, and then like Carlton Hassel, he was a guard. Like I don't know,
Hmm.
they didn't have a lot of like star power on the offensive line in general, and a lot of what they did have was at center. They're
Yeah,
three deep at center in terms of great players, but tackle's
right.
definitely the big weakness there.
Hmm. All right, good stuff, Devin. Appreciate that as always. Lone J also sent us $5. He said, why do fans act like the Steelers don't do deals during training camp majority of the time? Every season we get worried about this time of year with players not re-signing through the offseason, and it ends up happening during training camp. Even someone almost the date of the first game.
Yeah, I don't, I don't know that I get the sense that people are really concerned that the Steelers aren't going to get a deal with TJ Watt. I am more hearing from people that don't want the Steelers to have a deal with TJ Watt,
Yeah.
which is just bizarre to me, but I mean, teach their own. But I mean, there should be no. This is going to happen. Like, you know, very, very confident that this deal will get done. The
On a
timing, I don't
scale
know. It
of
could be
1 to Aaron Rodgers signing with the Steelers, how confident are you?
I'm maybe more confident just because
Wow. Okay.
it's TJ Watt and not Aaron Rodgers. There was always like that 1% chance that Aaron Rodgers was like going to become a priest or something like just because like you always had to factor that into the consideration. I'm not worried about that with
true.
TJ.
Yeah, that's fair point. Fair point. But yeah, appreciate the $5, Jay. But yeah, I think honestly, like what you might be seeing is a lot of what Alan is saying, and the little that you are seeing, where it's like any type of concern about it. Social media is very different from the real world, and I think that people get on social media and kind of overreact, even if they genuinely don't feel that way. So I think that's part of it too. Mike has a question here. This one was just from yesterday, actually. Alan Smitty, great show. Appreciate that, Mike. Something I was thinking about. Artie Smith was the tight end coach, Tennessee, when Matt LaFleur was the offensive coordinator in 2018. Obviously, Rodgers had a great success with LaFleur in Green Bay. Thinking this helps Rodgers getting up to speed with Artie's offense due to the connection with LaFleur and Smith. Would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this, or if it's at play at all. Thanks.
Yeah, no, definitely. Aaron Rodgers mentioned this in his introductory press conference, said some of the terminology is the same. Terminology is actually a big deal. I think people write it off a lot of times as like, oh, it's just words. There are like 1,000 names for every NFL, every football concept. And it's like some systems use different terminology. And you gotta be speaking the same language. And it's like, and part of it is because it's intentionally confusing. Like you want to give your stuff clever names so that you can just say, "Hey, we're going to be in Kings here," without the other team knowing what you're talking about. So
Right.
like and like sometimes people will decide that like, oh, like a lot of people around the NFL call this call whatever you know 3 tight ends jumbo, so we're going to start calling 5 wide receivers jumbo just to be clever and cute, right? And so like the idea is you have to be on the same page. It makes picking up the playbook a heck of a lot easier if you start with a lot of the same terminology. And it seems like not everything. Arthur Smith's been gone from Matt LaFleur for a long time, and Aaron Rodgers has been gone from Matt LaFleur for a little while. So things change over time. I wouldn't expect it's the same, but they're going to start with a lot of. It's sort of like if you speak German, you can kind of understand Dutch. Like you're starting in a lot better place than someone who speaks Chinese. You're going to figure it out a lot quicker.
Yeah, great comparison. Yeah, also, you mentioned in that there's at least some familiarity with some stuff that they want to do. I also just got to say, love to see that Artie Smith brought up wishbone today. I mean, anytime that I get somebody bringing up the wishbone formation, because, we might not see it, but the ideas in my head that are playing of DJ Thomas Jones behind Aaron Rodgers being flanked by Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson, it does something to my mind.
We're walking down with friend Chris Carter and some others, and Carter said, you're the lead blocker, and there's 3 of us in a line, and I guess this is the wishbone. Arthur Smith's not running it, but we can.
That's good.
You gotta love it. If you don't love the wishbone, I question how much you love football.
Right. Yeah, like actually.
And if you don't think about NFL teams just randomly lining up and running veer right, like once a game just to see what happens, I think you have to think about these things if you love football.
And I do quite often, which is why I would actually like to see the wishbone broken out, despite what Artie Smith had to say today. We can
Not with
definitely, if we
Aaron
have time.
Rodgers.
Yeah,
There
not with Aaron
is,
Rodgers.
I gotta say, if you scroll up one video or two videos maybe
Yeah.
on the YouTube channel, Aaron Rodgers running some bootlegs in practice today. I think he looked
Dude.
spry, at least.
Yeah. Yep. The way that I'm talking myself into this day by day, clip by clip. I mean, it's been something. The way people are talking about Will Howard.
You predicted that you would, and then you did.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Right. Listen, I am right there with people in the fan. That's what some people that watch or listen to the show fail to realize is I am just like you. So I 100% get it. I understand the perspective that we're coming from a lot of time. We might not share an opinion. I might just be on the complete inverse side of that, where I'm so far the other direction. Like the way the people have talked themselves into Will Howard being a franchise quarterback, I am talking myself in clip by clip to Aaron Rodgers being able to bring a 7th Lombardi to Pittsburgh. Just because I saw him running a bootleg. So
it did look good.
I'm
not sold on the Lombardi yet.
We'll get there. Don't worry.
I do appreciate though that I have to deal with both of those extremes and tell people, no, Aaron Rodgers is not going to lead the Steelers to the Super Bowl, and also no, they're not going to bench him for Will Howard. Like I had to split my time between both of those people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, somebody that they could potentially hope to also help in the pursuit, and I think this is worth bringing up. It was put out there by a certain account of a dog that we have mentioned far too often on here, because he's gotten some stuff right. He's also gotten some stuff wrong, but it's almost worth bringing up when he does put something out there. We knew about interest in Jaire Alexander, but it was also put out there that they were interested in Jalen Ramsey. And I think that's certainly interesting. Somebody that we know is also going to be moved. It's kind of been put out there already that both parties are seeking a trade. It's only a matter of time until it happens. Makes a little more sense. It's definitely an expensive slot option, but he can do that job. What do we make of this?
Still doesn't seem like the kind of move I'd expect them to make. It sort of feels like shaving with a sword. Like, yes, it can do that, but why would you want it to? Jalen Ramsey has played in the slot.
And also in this case,
bit.
the sword is talking back and saying, I don't really want to do this job.
Yeah. Like, and so apparently, like, there's a list of teams Jalen Ramsey will be traded to, and it appears the Steelers are one of them. Fine, whatever. But like, I don't know if that like sometimes those things are like said in advance. Sometimes those things are said before there's really an understanding of what the situation is. I don't know. It's not like it's impossible that this could happen, but I'm a little skeptical at the moment. I really don't understand Jaire Alexander, as we talked about at length, but he's not a slot corner. He's a zone corner. I talked to Darius Slay today, just like, hey, did you ever play the slot? And he was like, a little bit, a long time ago. And I was like, would you? And he goes, I guess. I'll do whatever it takes. But it didn't seem like that was something that was at the forefront of his thought process.
Right.
So I just...
Yeah. And what I think is...
So, first rep of 7 shots today. The Steelers offense is running some like put you in communication hell stuff, right? It's like start in a balanced formation, big shift that you end up with trips to the left, and the Steelers defense is running around communicating the shift, and then after that, Calvin Austin goes in motion from being the slot guy on the trip side to being the outside guy on the wide side. And Beanie Bishop is running around communicating here, communicating there, and this is like exactly what like teams like the Ravens did to the Steelers secondary last year, where they couldn't get the communication right, and Mason Rudolph is standing there looking left, looking right, looking left, looking right, coverage sack. Like everyone is just plastered after like basically like three different shots. And like we're trying to get you to trip up. I talked to Beanie. I was like, this was like a targeted attack, and he's like, oh yeah, they put in this stuff on purpose based on like what they think teams are going to try to do to mess with us, and they just nailed it. And I'm like, I'm looking at this at practice today while my phone is going off about Jalen Ramsey, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. I don't see it. Maybe I'm really reading the tea leaves here wrong, but I don't understand the impetus for that move. Like, that is not a small or inexpensive upgrade.
No, right. That's why I preface by saying he can do the job, but it's a very expensive slot option. And, it's coming from me, somebody that has said I didn't feel like they've invested in the slot position enough over the years. Maybe an overcorrection in doing so.
Yeah. And is he going to be happy doing that? I mean, look, the slot is the more physical position with more wear and tear on your body. Why would he, at this point of his career, want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a hard... Now, I do understand this trade seems like it's kind of stalled, right? Where, like, it's been out there for a while that the Dolphins are okay with trading him and that he wants traded, and there hasn't really been a deal. So, I don't know. Maybe the market for Jalen Ramsey is softer than we would think, and he's willing to consider non-ideal circumstances, but it is clearly a non-ideal circumstance.
Yeah. I mean, because going back to like the list or whatever of destinations he would go to, like you said, that could have been, prior to free agency and like team not signing Darius Slay yet, and him being like, yeah, I could play opposite of Joey Porter Jr., something like that. But like, it's not the exact same situation now, obviously, with Darius Slay in tow. So I don't, but clearly, like, say that if the team is this sounds stupid to say, redundant to say, because like obviously, if the team is interested in him, though, they clearly have like a vision of the way that they would want this to go. I don't know what that is outside looking in.
Yeah, and I don't even know. Like, I don't know how much this has been something that the Steelers have been driving, as it is the Dolphins really want rid of this guy, and have been talking to the Steelers a lot anyway. And, like, it's just coming up. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
And I get I mean, I know they talked to the Packers while Alexander was on the Packers. He's been released. I don't know that there's been any contact since then. But I don't understand that fit at all. He can't play the slot. Or at least I don't think he can play the slot. Maybe it's Slay then? Again, like, full marks to him for saying he's willing to do it, but why would he want to?
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of, sort of related, just because we're talking about acquiring, was put out there that by Jonathan Jones of CBS that the Steelers are lowballing other teams currently in trade offers for offensive playmakers. Make anything of that? What's your opinion of that? I mean, I guess before you answer, I'll just give my take. Like, first, I don't know what that means necessarily, but also like this is probably that's when you start a negotiation. I think you're going to lowball, especially this time of year with what's available on the market. Like, I don't even know how to read that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to make of that being put out there in the way that it was.
I'm a little curious about that too. I don't get the sense that there are a lot of motivated sellers. And so, like, I think one of the things that happens when there are not motivated sellers is that, like, nothing happens. And the sellers are thinking that nothing happens means the price is going to go up, but really just nothing happens, right? It's like that guy in your fantasy football team that, like, or fantasy football league, like, drafts all the running backs, and then he's like, haha, I'm going to sell all these running backs for a king's ransom. And then every team is like, no, I'm not paying that. I'll just play, Breece Hall on the waiver wire or whatever. Like,
right.
I think sometimes they think that like because the market is dry that the prices have to go up, and sometimes it just means teams is like, yeah, forget it, never mind, not about that. Like I also don't think it's necessarily a coincidence that the Steelers have kind of been pumping Calvin Austin's tires here lately. Like, he was on the team last year. Nobody was saying he was like a bona fide wide receiver too then. Like, I think there's plenty of reason to think he can be better, especially with Aaron Rodgers. When we talked about, players that he can make better, I think we brought him up in addition to Frymouth and Roman Wilson. But like, I don't know how much that's real sentiment and how much that's, hey, he's the guy we got, so let's try to build him up, and also let's try to make it seem like we're okay with what we have.
Yeah, no, very good point. I mean, Zach Zazani today, I mean, the way that he talked about him, you would have thought it's Calvin's dad talking about Calvin Austin.
You would have thought this was a returning 1,000-yard receiver, which he is not. He's a returning, 500-yard receiver? Like, I mean, I love Calvin Austin. I think he will be a very important piece for them. If the Steelers really thought all that about Calvin Austin, there would have been no drama about trading George Pickens.
Yeah, last year, 36 receptions, 548 yards, 4 touchdowns. And also, I mentioned this. I'm not saying it's not going to be a good fit with Aaron, but I will say, like, I thought he was the guy that for all of, the things Russ couldn't do, Calvin was the guy that to me was never going to be hurt by that. Like, I think Calvin was the biggest beneficiary of Russell Wilson last year.
Because they had no one to take away from the double coverage of George.
Right.
Which is what you would like to be filled by the person holding Calvin Austin's role. So, like, it's hard to ignore that. Like,
sure.
I don't think the Steelers think Calvin Austin is a great wide receiver too. Can he do it? Sure. He did it last year. Probably won't be any worse. Probably will be better. But, like,
another one of those things, as with everything, you just like to give somebody a little truth serum and get the actual thoughts of how they feel internally about that. But all right, well, we'll continue this journey tomorrow. Another day of mini camp, wrapping up things over there. So I hope you're ready for one more of these long days that you've been talking about, and then jumping on here and telling us all about it. But until then, Alan, tell the people they can find you.
Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now sites account, SteelersNow.com. Go there and read the word so I can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus. Still have several new signups to get to down on our chat app on the ticker there.
New one's really updated just now.
We really appreciate all of you who signed up during our big sale, and even a whole bunch of you who have signed up since then, which is awesome. We really appreciate it. It really does help everything that we do at SteelersNow.com. And you can also subscribe to that bell for notifications here on the YouTube channel. Lots going on here on the YouTube channel while the Steelers are practicing. Don't want to miss sights and sounds, practice report, an interview, and of course, morning rush and afternoon drive. Hit that like button, hit that bell, do the thing.
There we go. So shout out to John Sullivan, Kurt Fulton, Bobby Rhodes, Ashley Christ, and Harvey Gross for subscribing to SN Plus. Bobby Rhodes, of course, the other Rhodes brother that is not Cody or Dustin.
Yeah, absolutely. He was like the third brother.
Yeah, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit us in the comments with your thoughts, anything we talked about today, question for a future episode, all that good stuff. If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast's from, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe over there. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive to do so. Hit us up on TikTok, same thing, and then you'll find me everywhere, Zachary Smith, PGH, Aaron Rodgers, and myself. Thanks for jumping in and taking another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.